I think who's really dropping the ball is the networks, because we wanted to watch it last night and it was like near impossible.
Yeah, it was amazing to be kind of behind the scenes seeing the Golden Globe stuff going on. Like, I was looking at it through the lens of what is the personal branding statement all of these people are trying to make.
The only thing that Aloe requested is that I sit down and I hear their strategy on the Aloe bags. So I will report back if I have a change in opinion on the Aloe bag strategy.
If you really have to explain it in person, right, you're probably not messaging it well.
We're in Hollywood and Lemme launches a campaign with Kris Jenner.
The fashion vibe was kind of Aviator Nation-ish, so it was kind of picking
70s. Brand strategy is what's the most relevant when it comes to creative ideation. The rise and fall of AI in creative industries.
Your brand of your company, it has to come from the creativity of you. You can't delegate the actual creative juices to an AI bot, or else you're just going to spend money and fall behind.
Starbucks enters the beauty space.
When I think of Starbucks, I do not think of beauty.
Who's to say that Starbucks isn't going to do it well?
I'm going to say they haven't done anything well for the last 10 years.
These founders are creating brands to sell them. What makes Makeup by Mario great is that he was Kim Kardashian's makeup artist. E.L.F, the team launches a Substack. So they called it Zero Distance. And it's interesting because I think that the Substack for brands is going to become overdone.
I don't care what most marketers say. You know what I mean? Because they can't say anything. They're terrified. They have to answer to people. I care what the founder or the person in charge of the brand is saying. So we'll see if they actually deliver.
What a brand, what a brand, what a brand, what a mighty good brand. Say it again now. What a brand, what a brand, what a brand, what a mighty good brand.
Well, welcome back to another week of Art of the Brand. We're coming to you from Los Angeles.
Specifically, Beverly Hills podcast studio in our fancy
Colombian jackets.
Colombian attire just after the Golden Globes. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, yesterday with the Golden Globes. It was cool. I got to be behind the barricade of the red carpet for our client Molly Sims, which was cool to kind of see the commotion in action, seeing all the people getting ready.
It's been my least favorite thing about being in LA and Beverly Hills with you this week is the amount of people coming up to me and saying, "Hey, are you on that podcast with Camille Moore?" And they don't know my name. So just, take the time to get to know my name. I have feelings too. I know it's easy to hate me. I know it's easy.
I don't think the people that listen to the long form every week don't know who you are.
It's probably they see the short form.
The clips and they see you as the villain in the clips. But I actually have a different approach to. I want to talk about the award shows because we've been ripping on the award shows for them needing to become more relevant. And I actually have a different take now that I've kind of been here live for it and seen the behind the scenes. I think who's really dropping the ball is the networks, because we wanted to watch it last night and it was like near impossible to get some kind of a stream or a way to activate. And for the majority of people, they're just seeing the clips now on social media. Like there isn't kind of an evolution of how to make the award shows like hyper relevant so that you can tune in.
I think CBS had a collab with YouTube TV. And that was them trying to move into it. We were just having issues because our accounts are rooted in Canada, and so they wouldn't let us do it.
But still, like, why?
Yeah. That's just regulatory nonsense that exists between countries in terms of how they regulate.
But to me, that's still not modern.
The old airways and licensing. The same reason why you don't get the same commercials in different countries.
No, but I understand that. But if you're moving into being on YouTube, wouldn't you rather have somebody watch it than not watch it? Yes.
You know what I mean? That's what seems odd.
Like you're just getting all this earned media value for like views on outfits. But like I didn't know who won. I had to like search again this morning. Like I didn't get to see the full like speech. Like
there's a lag because we ordered because we rented a house like an Airbnb. There's kind of a lag in that the TVs. You can kind of log into it, but they don't have cable now anymore. So you can't just turn on a TV and watch it. So you kind of got to log in through your own channels. But if you're traveling, you can't log in. Like there's a gap between getting people the views when they need it.
It makes no sense that they can't figure it out if we're or they're not taking the time to figure it out when we're in a social first world.
Yeah, it was amazing to be kind of behind the scenes seeing the Golden Globe stuff going on. Like, I was looking at it through the lens of what is the personal branding statement all of these people are trying to make with their outfits, their hair, where they're going.
It's like how serious it is.
Yeah. And are they communicating the message they want, or are they just trying to seem popular? Like I saw a surprising lack of strategy and some people who are doing things very well.
I thought what was cool is I had so Molly Sims, one of our clients, she owns a cool beauty brand called Wise, YSE, and her husband is the producer of Frankenstein, which was one of the movies that was on the docket last night for an awards. They didn't win, sadly, but I was
They'll win an Oscar.
chatting with them in their room where they were getting ready at the Waldorf, and I asked him two questions. One of them was, do you have any idea? Like, do you know going into this, like based on where you're placed or where you're sitting, like if you're going to win, is there like any indication? He says, no, like basically the way that the seating is set up is the front of the room is like the movie stars because they want the cameras to pick up the like big names, big faces. Then the kind of second portion of the room are the TV stars, which always pisses them off because in many ways they're as relevant if they're on like big TV shows right now, but they're pushed kind of back. And then behind them are the spouses and partners of the people who are at the front of the room and influencers. So apparently the room is so packed now, like people don't even get +1s because they're trying to bring so many influencers into the Golden Globes so that they can make it obviously more relevant because of like the dying of the eyeballs and who has more relevancy. But to me, it's just so interesting that they're taking such a focus to get more eyeballs on the event, but they're not getting the event more eyeballs.
The live event element, like there's probably a lot of utility in getting multiple views over the next 3 to 4 days while it's live.
Yeah.
So that gives them time to curate, to produce UGC, to talk about what they saw. So it kind of extends the lifespan of the coverage of the Golden Globes by having that there, I think.
Yeah, totally. And moving on, so we actually also, I'm sure you guys all saw, we shot some podcasts this week at Aloe HQ. What movie is it from? Where like, I've got some explaining to do.
Oh no, it's from I Love Lucy.
Yeah, you've got some explaining.
Lucy,
You've got some explaining to do. That's how I felt when we were there, but it was funny. One of our good friends who's high up in PR made it happen. And it's funny today is the only thing that Aloe requested is that I sit down and I hear their strategy on the Aloe bags. So I will report back if I have a change in opinion on the Aloe bag strategy.
Which is interesting. And for context, we kind of did a piece on the Aloe bag and discussed whether or not we thought was a hit or a miss. And I think we labeled it a bit of a miss. And we've taken some constructive feedback attempts with Aloe. So walking in there, we felt like, we were going to get judged. But what's interesting is that they want to explain it to you so you can understand it. And the kind of, what I take from that is, well, if you really have to explain it in person, right, you're probably not messaging it well.
Yeah, but what I think is more cool is that the content that we're creating, brands want to at least provide, like they're not writing it off, right? They want to take the opportunity to like sit
They
down.
care about your opinion.
Yeah, which I thought was hilarious. I also thought too, though, that, okay, so 2 things. One, they have like their bags in glass cases, like near the elevator. One of the bags is actually pretty nice. Like if they gifted it to me, I wouldn't be mad. It was like a big bag for laptops. Would my opinion change if I got the large suede bag? Maybe. No, I'm kidding. But the thing that I actually thought was the most interesting was seeing the Aloe HQ in person, because they've used Aloe HQ as such a strong marketing strategy to kind of catapult the brand to have cool brand status. Because like the day after we were there, Hailey Bieber was doing a yoga class there. Like they bring in these big names because they have these high-end facilities that they don't charge for. And I thought it was interesting from a world building perspective. It made perfect sense why Aloe was cool, because in the lobby, it's all dogs. Everyone brings their dogs to work. Everyone's literally in Aloe pajamas all day. They had like IVs that were in the lobby. There was very much a brand to the HQ that was consistent with like the models and the feel that the brand puts out, which I thought was interesting.
What I thought was a bit of a miss is that brand is the first time I've seen that type of that feeling from Aloe. Like I don't get it in their store. I find their store is like cluttered with too much stuff, like kind of almost trying to compete SKU for SKU with Lululemon or something else. So I don't get that feeling when I go into an Aloe store.
You're not wrong. And you're also not
They should capture that, because I like fitness.
They should have made it more like Aritzia stores, where there was this like coolness feel to the stores, not these like massive, we have way too many SKUs. But I also think too, the problem with it is the retail strategy of how they rolled out in Canada, like what the locations they picked, because they took over really big footprints for the locations that are in Toronto and the ones that we've gone through in the malls. Because the one in Aspen is pretty cool.
I went in the one in Rodeo, and I just
Oh, you went in that one too?
didn't feel like the headquarters.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
there's a disconnect in kind of the brand messaging. They're spending money to make their headquarters feel like Google.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's not at the kind of on the ground where the consumers are. I'm not getting that feeling. So it's usually that disconnect can be a problem.
Well, the disconnect is a problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it has my opinion changed on aloe the way that we've talked about it? No. But do I see the potentiality for aloe to be not only what it was, but to continue in that vein? Absolutely. Because there is a consistency at the HQ. Like the people that worked there were super fit, were good looking. They were living this kind of health and wellness. Like the HQ was very much a Google HQ to health and wellness fitness. Like it that parallel existed, but I agree with you. It's changing in how it's rolling out, which is going to hurt the brand, because if the coolness that exists doesn't exist at the in-store level, then it will be a scaling problem.
Very true.
Okay. We're going to get into our topics, but we also shot a lot of really good episodes this week. High level, what's your favorite episode, so that our listeners can get excited for tuning into those, because those will be guest episodes.
Well, I just had a personal bond with Jason, the founder of Theragun.
Oh my God, I love that
Magnificent human
episode.
being, a founder who needs to tell the story a bit more, because he has so much depth of experience and so much to share with the world. And I hadn't really been exposed to him that much prior to the podcast. And to me, it just seems like a giant resource not being used. The brand is doing very well, but I think it's done very well because of how much he invested in the 10 years.
And his
before it
wife.
hit. Yeah.
And that was
His wife too.
We went for dinner with them afterwards, and his wife, Amanda Henry, also was so involved in the building of the brand, and they haven't leveraged her at all whatsoever. I really loved that episode. I loved him. I think it's awesome when you experience a brand and it's as good or better than what you figured, right? Like it really had all of those elements of a good brand.
To me, it kind of spoke to the founder's journey. Like, you care about something, you invest your life into making it at great sacrifice. It doesn't happen in 6 months. It happens in, I think he called it his 9 years.
Yeah, it was 90.
You invest so much on this journey, and then it pays off, and then you build something, it's an amazing, but then all of a sudden the founder's journey then always encounters this friction with kind of business people coming in, right? Who are now bean counters, who don't care about, the passion. I'm not saying this happening there, but I'm just saying there's always a founder's journey. You make it, you hit the success, and then you're kind of like, now the corporation has its own energy going in a direction, and what does a founder do? And when they care so much about helping humans. Fascinating podcast.
Oh my God, it was. And we also shot Chris McMillan, who was like the godfather of hair.
Did your hair?
He did my hair. I got the Rachel. We also shot.
My haircut was done by Giuseppe. He's an amazing barber, not Chris.
On Rodeo.
Yeah.
Oh, we shot Molly Sims, that was a great episode. It was super, like all the feels, all the emotions. We shot Sir John, which was a great story. Super famous makeup artist. And then after this episode, we got Symbiotica and Ryan Roth, who is the son of Peter Thomas Ross. We got a lot of really good episodes this week. Look out for those. Let us kick it off. So let's start with, we're in Hollywood, and Lemme launches a campaign with Kris Jenner. And it was interesting because when it first dropped, we saw it right away. And my initial reaction was, that's interesting. But I wasn't as sold as you were right away. And I do think that that's worth reinforcing, because Phillip actually really has like he really is an admin. Like, he sees things early. So you really actually got it right away. And I want you to break down why you liked it. And then I've got some points to add to it.
I think for context, it depends on you have campaigns sometimes that you want to hit instantaneously, but like good wines, good movies, good brands, good campaigns take a while to digest. There's layers.
Yeah.
Like an onion, as Shrek would say, like you kind of feel some more things. And so I really enjoy when you can look at something and there's kind of the obvious message, but you can see some stacking. That's a new term everywhere now, but I kind of call it brand stacking in terms of messaging, content stacking.
Yeah.
But the aesthetics of that ad just was interesting to me when I first watched it, because I could see they had a bunch of things they were doing there. They were speaking back to kind of the decathlon days of Bruce Jenner.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a little tongue in cheek. There's some interesting stuff there. The fashion vibe was kind of Aviator Nation-ish. So it was kind of picking up on
70s.
that. And then she just seemed interesting. Like I was paying attention to what she said. So I thought it
Empire building.
Yeah.
There was also the element of, we have the Olympics, but there's also like the Patriot Games, which is like another big headline. So there was a lot of different themes. And to your point, what's interesting is I had done a deep dive after that creative, and I went on Lemme's page and I realized that they've actually been investing in these like storyline creatives.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few others. And the one right before is Kim, and she's a lawyer, and they're in the court, and they're in Lemme court, and they're fighting as if they're on the reality TV show. And what's good about what they're doing is they're tying a creative concept to the authenticity of the brand, right? Like it's authentic for them to have Kris tied to being an Olympic decathlon athlete, talking about building an empire. Like when there's those layers to it, it makes it more than just like throwing money at a creative concept. It speaks to the underlying storyline of what people are looking for when they're buying that product. Like you don't see Lemme and you don't say that's Kourtney Kardashian's brand. So tying to that authenticity is what allows it to break through on the internet, so that it's not just another high-end creative, because ultimately they have a lot of money to spend. And I think it becomes complicated for brand owners to navigate, what can I learn from this if they have so much money? But what they're doing that's right is well done storytelling.
That particular ad, focusing on creatine, I think creatine for the plus 40 crowd is a huge market.
No, even for young people.
Even for young people, but I just mean for the plus 40 crowd, like it's a huge market, but you're now seeing people talk more about it. So I think it didn't quite do enough on the kind of educate, or focus on creatine, but definitely they're onto something. And, I think people over a certain age would have watched that ad for the full of it, because she looked vibrant, healthy, and entertaining, surrounded by an interesting background, but talking about something really relevant to her market.
I think you brought up a great point. And in that, it's absolutely not relevant for their brand. Like their brand is not focused on, it's not like a Peter Attia brand. It's not like, it's not founded by someone that's at the forefront of thought leadership and education. Their brand focusing on entertaining and them killing it on TikTok Shop strategy, to me, makes sense. I think it would actually not make sense if they were trying to educate on creatine value, because that's not its brand.
They could sell on a live TikTok shop by speaking to a certain audience. Like, you can do some really interesting things there.
There's space for her to do more. I would say that the criticism I have is I fear there is a market cap to the way they're doing it because it lacks education and awareness. But I don't believe that would come from a creative like this. The question is, does Kourtney follow Chloe and have a podcast where she interviews like these kind of adjacent expert people so that she has that as a pillar that adds to her brand? But the point that I'm trying to underscore is brand strategy is what's the most relevant when it comes to creative ideation. Because we're also going to talk about David's protein later here and this. And when there's so much noise on the internet, you have to figure out what creative strategy and what storyline makes sense for your brand. So would that creative storyline make sense for a brand like David's Protein? No, because the founders of it don't have an authentic story to tie to like that. So it's understanding the parameters where your brand exists within and figuring out what makes sense. But to your point, and you saw it early, that's actually a smart, like the direction they're going down, like making Kim a lawyer in another creative and showing her in a court setting and them fighting like they do on the show. It is brilliant for tapping into the equity they already have.
Once I'll say it again, brand is strategy.
Yeah.
And most people do not understand how to build a strategy.
Cool. Let's move on to the next one. So the rise and fall of AI in creative industries. So we're going to take two different approaches with this. For me, Molly, who's a model, and Katya, who works for us, is also a model. And they were talking about what's happening in the modeling industry right now and whether can you resist these AI twins where they're making an AI version of you? Do you sign the contract where they allow you to make this version of you that they can utilize so that they don't have to fly you all over the world and do these creatives, or do you resist it? And it poses an interesting conversation for, like, there's even criticism of, or maybe not the right word, speculation that even Refi, like a big beauty campaign, just used AI models in their recent creative ads. And kind of, where is this going? Is it good for small brands? Is it a problem? And I think you also being a lawyer, it allows for an interesting dialogue.
The legality of that is complex. Like, you need good lawyers to protect your image, your own IP. You know, that's an issue. But what's more interesting to me is AI has become a shortcut, you know, and so as people rush into something, it's kind of, there's a lagging indicator. So I think in the future, what people are, is not going to be what people are doing now, like just creating AI, like the content that I see, everybody who's doing content right now, everyone I know who's doing content, everybody who reads content, it's almost like the exact same AI.
Yeah, it's not this,
it's not this, it's that.
Yeah.
And it's, at some point you have to be like, look, am I really reflecting my personal brand by just chucking out stuff that seems more complicated that's done by AI? Because I think there's an AI fatigue going on right now.
Oh my God, major.
And it's taking away from the creativity. And what we're always telling people is your personal brand, your brand of your company, it has to come from the creativity of you. You can't delegate the actual creative juices to an AI bot, or else you're just going to spend money and fall behind.
Yeah, it's complicated because when I look at even what I'm receiving from clients, like there's signal versus there's noise. Everybody wants to stop paying UGC creators to maximize UGC creative from an AI generation machine. Everybody loves the idea that they don't have to spend $65,000 doing a short campaign clip and they can outsource the entire thing to AI. And I think the last few weeks of our episode, I've had some version of like AI creatives where to me, it's not interesting when the barrier is so low that anyone can do a campaign that feels off brand to like get a headline. But what's complicated about that is there's this small area where it might have made a ton of sales off of that AI model that they used to shoot and to run ads with that nobody knows is an AI model because they're not publicly talking about it. And that might work. And sure, they might have made a few $100,000 and like that's something and that's awesome. But is that where this is going? Probably not. Because if you analyze what works for the UGC community is that the idea was that the consumer had trust because it was a real person that wasn't famous, that wasn't payable. Like when I look at the ads that our clients are running, UGC creative is becoming less and less impactful because of the exact reason that you can go on programs like Billo and you can buy 100 pack of credits and you can just have people that have never used your product talk about it and it look authentic.
But that's a differentiator with a difference, because you can see everywhere UGC is dead. Well, it's not dead because consumers don't want to connect with a brand at a personal level. It's dead because UGC is being corrupted.
Yes.
By overuse, by AI, by undermining the trust relationship. So UGC is not dead, you know, as some of these influencers on TikTok or whatever are saying. You know, scripted, curated, unauthentic UGC is not UGC.
Yes.
Right?
Well, it's exactly what I want to get into as well is when you look at like Lemme's strategy, because we just talked about them, they're doing over 13 million a month through an affiliate network on TikTok. It's brilliant. But the reason why it's working is because it's real girls with real followers that are creating content to people that look like them, that buy like them, that have shared values like them. So they're authentically selling product to real people. And that's a critical difference that brands are missing is this fake UGC creator has no community. It like nobody knows their face. Nobody follows them. So it to what point does that continue to work?
This is where we see a lot of frustration in kind of founders and CEOs, is that there's always agencies that will come to you, and there's a fickleness now. We see people bumping between agency and agency or whatever. Yeah. But there's a fickleness where somebody goes, "Hey, this is a new thing. Let's take a shortcut to take advantage of it." And if you're in the first 10% of a trend, you can get a bump for it. But generally, by the time you're hearing it, you're past that 10%. Now you're investing money, following a trend. It'd be way better to invest in your own creative and then have people who are telling you things that are working. But there's just all of this kind of flashy bells and whistles that people are following with. And it's, you gotta stick to the basics, which is authentic UGC.
Yeah. And I mean, you brought up another point too about the writing of the captions. There's actually an article that was in the Cut this past week, and it was saying basically like how shitty it is to have an employee that like everything they do is ChatGPT and you have to like rewrite it all, and like the kind of this ChatGPT like mess of just this content that like there's so much there but it doesn't say anything, and how that's like such a different issue of there has to be an accountability when you own a brand to genuinely want to invest in the eyeballs and the intention of like of your community. Like you can't use the word community and then just cut corners on all areas of like your community is reading the caption, they're reading the script, they're like looking at the video. Like if you're just completely outsourcing all of it so you can end your day at 3:00 to get to happy hour and have a Mai Tai, like it's not going to work.
Like the analogy is, imagine a Christmas card that's like printed off as opposed to one that's handwritten, right? Like if you know the worst thing is a card that's printed off, but it's made to look like handwriting. Like to me, it's actually more offensive that now you get these cards that's fake handwriting. So it's like, look at me being authentic. Like it's actually corrupts the idea of what's going on. And I think that's a trust thing that's being broken here. I want to do a quick piece on AI and leadership and how AI reveals something that everybody should know about leadership. There's 4 types of leaders that when I was studying leadership, that one of the best militaries in the world identified years ago. There's the lazy, unintelligent leader who this military thought was harmless. They would just put them as ceremonial, right? And think of this from your own context in your business, the leaders you've seen. So you've got lazy and unintelligent. They generally they don't create much work, so they don't do much harm, and so they're seen as rather harmless. There's the workaholic, intelligent person. They were deemed to be the ops people, the COOs, the people who get stuff done, but often they're not the leaders because they're much more useful just working their butts off. The leaders of this military that had the best leaders, they saw were intelligent people who were a little bit lazy. They would sit back and look at the 30,000 square foot picture, and they could make good decisions and have a vision. But where this is relevant to our AI discussion is unintelligent humans who are very ambitious and workaholics, they deem to be the most dangerous type of leader. And so you have to remove them. And you can see this with AI now. You see more and more people who they're not that intelligent, but they're using AI to generate tons of stuff. They're working all day long and it's creating work for everybody. And everybody's got to go through these long documents, and something to keep in mind in your organization. And I bet you everybody right now can imagine that kind of dumb workaholic who makes everybody's life miserable by starting projects, by doing all of this stuff. So put that in the frame of reference of AI when you're using AI. It's not an excuse for hard work, and you need intelligence and AI, but stupidity in AI can triple the workload of your good people and cause frustration.
I mean, I feel like that could be like literally the theme of the whole episode because it's so real. Like you can see people that can just produce an insane amount of work product, but it's completely useless. But it actually makes me want to go into the separate segment, which is because we've been talking so much with brands this week while we've been here in LA about and while we've been here, OpenAI launched this like ChatGPT health kind of concept. And it's this dedicated GPT that is kind of like your health companion. And what's interesting is we've been having so many conversations with these health and wellness brands, and they all seem to be having launching something that has to do with AI so that you can get more out of their product or their protocols or within the world that they're trying to tap into with this kind of AI adjacent app or product. I wanted to talk about, is it a problem for brands to be doing this? Should they have to be connecting with AI, or the opposite, which is what I just said? Is it a problem that they should be avoiding AI in the context of a companion that's like an AI chat bot or something that they can communicate to that like dials in based on their own data? Or is this a necessary for brands to build a further community? Humans
aren't going to be replaced by AI. They're going to be replaced by humans who know how to leverage AI intelligently. In the medical community specifically, I'm thrilled to see ChatGPT coming out with health, because often the organizations, associations, and institutions get in the way of progress and accessibility of the public. It's been proven that AI diagnosis is more effective than doctors at getting the right. It's absolutely proven.
Yeah.
But you're not seeing it being used. It's proven that autopilot on planes are better than pilots, but the pilots don't want to like lose a seat in the cockpit to AI because they're protecting it. Doctors don't want to lose their ability to bill. Lawyers don't want to lose their ability to control things. You can use an AI and come up with contracts, right? So all of these professions and institutions and experts are trying to protect their ability to bill, right? But ChatGPT Health is where it's going. Like if you're looking at getting into med school, I don't know if there's going to be family doctors in the same way there used to be in the future. I think we're going to need healers who can understand humans at a tactile level, touch, palpitate, and see something. And you don't need an encyclopedia brain. The AI has that for you. You need to be able to read a human being. So I think there's going to be a giant shift in the healthcare space. And if you're a doctor, a healer, or you have a business, your personal brand has to be built now, because AI will replace it if you don't have that connection with the community.
You're so right. But and that was very important to say. But the kind of conversation or the different angle to consider is, does it make sense for, like, let's say hypothetically, I don't know if this exists, Ring is launching an AI assistant that you can talk to ask questions based on the data that you're seeing. When we're criticizing the use of AI in brands, is that something that is like a necessary that brands should be getting ahead of just like leveraging AI to better build a community relationship with their customers? Or is that something that is passe, overdone, or they should avoid?
Well, you should use the resources the best way they can be used, and AI to process information and data with millions of calculations a second. That's a good use of AI. But your forward-facing interface with your client should be as human as possible.
The only thing that's complicated to it is there's obviously a bunch of reasons of why it's intelligent. Data capturing, like allowing the ability to have deeper conversations with customers that allows you to like upsell products later. My only question is, how do you keep it novel? Like if every brand is launching some form of like an AI coach or AI companion that ties with their product or services, it's going to be like how everyone launched an app. Like I don't want my phone to have 300 apps of like a McDonald's app and a Tim Hortons app and a like it that's kind of, I guess, like my question of how do you make it novel, or who, I guess even we can leave this as it is and we can track them as they continue to come out. But it was just an interesting thing I thought about this week with this headline.
Yeah, when it comes to health, trust is the most important thing. And generally people build trust with a human interface. So their challenge is going to be to build trust with their client, because health is, and staying current. Because if I can establish a trust relationship with some sort of health product and it works for me, I'll stick with it because it's too much to change.
Yeah.
So they got to invest on getting trust early.
Yeah, it's interesting. Even when I was thinking about like for the office, like these AI, I've had to call some service providers recently, and they have like these AI call services where you're not even talking to someone. And on one hand, I'm like, it's actually kind of brilliant to get ahead of, because I think the standard is going to change for people. Like, I don't care if your business closes at 6:30. Like, if I'm calling at 8:45, it'd be convenient for me to be able to, or at least my AI agent to be able to like get something booked in, start figuring out some pricing. Like, it's kind of an interesting, there's two sides to it where I think the world is going to evolve to more AI. Oh, interesting. Katya just said that the restaurants in Toronto are using AI as a hostess, but like that makes sense to me.
On the phone.
On the phone,
so they don't
yeah.
have to answer the phone. Yeah. It takes away the ability for the hostess to kind of fit in,
Like better people.
you know, like because they just have their reserved seats, right?
Yeah.
So there's always going to be an element for good humans, but you have to amplify yourself with intelligent use of AI.
Right, next topic. Starbucks enters the beauty space. So Starbucks is reportedly preparing to launch a beauty line. We got this from a LinkedIn. Someone has become the like head of beauty at Starbucks. So we're forecasting a line to be coming. What are your thoughts? I've got mine.
Okay, I'm going to try not to have too many haters there, but when I think of Starbucks, I do not think of beauty. Like in the past, baristas used to be cool people. Like when it first came out, they were cool. Now when I see baristas,
poetic,
I just see balls of anxiety. Starbucks should be getting into the nose ring hair dyeing market, maybe, right? Because that's
Here we go again.
But from a beauty perspective, there's nothing about Starbucks that speaks to beauty, right? Like I like get my name written on a cup. I don't know how Starbucks is going to become my morning routine in terms of a beauty perspective, but I'm interested to see what you say.
I think that it is super intelligent. And I will tell you why.
All right. And I will destroy you after.
Please destroy me after. Okay, so number one, this is totally the Sephora model where they're going to have a gondola that's like as people are waiting in line, they're going to have lip glosses. It's going to be like a Laneige like sleeping mask that's like peppermint mocha or pumpkin spice flavored. It's allowing them to tap into these cultural moments in a way that isn't as fleeting. Like it's going to increase their average order value, and it's brilliant because when I look at the Americanization of Tim Hortons, so Tim Hortons was purchased by an American company. When you go into Tim Hortons now, there are like, it's a very small kiosk of like accessories, pens. They do like stockings at Christmas. They have like accessories that are at the front while you're waiting in line to buy products and food. Because Starbucks has gone to the kids, it makes perfect sense for them to have like lip glosses and tchotchkes that even can be bag charms that allows Sephora to be more culturally relevant. And that's what they're foreseeing because Starbucks wants to sell more and be more relevant. And to the people that they're selling to, they've already proven this with mug sales and with cup sales. They want to be able to sell something else because there's a cap to how many cups and mugs you can have in your house.
Look, mugs make sense on the brand messaging. Like especially when we used to love Starbucks and you would travel, like you love having that mug. It gives you that sense that you feel warm and welcome. Like most Starbucks now, they've taken out tables so you can't sit there. You don't feel warm and welcome there.
True.
Right? So what is the brand's now just trying to commoditize more sales?
Yeah.
You know, if they had traveler things for beauty, but I think it is a divergence. It's a desperate attempt to get more revenue. And I do not want to be sitting in a lineup like at those stores where I have to like go buy everything.
But you're not the customer.
Yeah.
Like think about how many people buy those like their pink sparkly cups or like the bear cup that went super viral at Christmas. They can have the ability now to have, there's like this whole market of like water bottle charms. Mm-hmm. So like charms you put on your water bottle. Sure. Why doesn't it make sense if that's already trending and already big for a, like the brand's lost its cachet. Like we're not.
No, you know, maybe we'll advise Sephora to put a little coffee counter inside their stores.
It'd be smart.
I don't think so.
I think it'd be really smart. So Aritzia put what do you mean? What brands are getting into is Dior, Louis Vuitton, they've all got into experiential activations, which is putting a cafe.
If you can't do it well, you don't do it.
Who's to say that Starbucks isn't going to do it well?
I'm going to say they haven't done anything well for the last 10 years.
Well, but you're not the customer.
I am a Starbucks customer. What are you talking about? I get Starbucks anytime I can.
No, I'm not saying you're not the Starbucks customer. I'm saying you're not the customer for these products. There's a huge base of people that are going to buy these products that aren't for the two of us. We go to Starbucks because we have to go to Starbucks. Starbucks has like, I don't think Starbucks is going to be able to get back to being super cool with the retail footprint that they have. Like they have to make do with the problem that they have. And I think this makes the most sense.
If I was Starbucks, I would collab with somebody so they had some freedom of action so they could kind of put things in there that were responding to what's trending. But for Starbucks to come up with their own beauty brands, I think it's going to be a giant fail in the end. They're going to waste a lot of money on that.
Well, considering how close we're sitting to each other, I think this was a very positive disagreement. So we'll have to see what people think on that front. Okay, so we have two different headlines. The first one here is the global president of Makeup by Mario has officially stepped down from her role. So she's been with the company since it started in 2020. The story goes that she is looking to effectively retire and be with her family in Miami. So they've really padded the story so that there's nothing dramatic happening to the company. Before I bring in a very different headline, what are your thoughts on the Makeup by Mario story?
I don't know. I'd be interested to know what Mario is doing in this relationship. Like generally you see these types of moves when a company is looking to be acquired or to go public. You need to teach people leadership. Like first of all, in business, think about where do you learn leadership, right? MBAs don't really teach leadership, or business schools. They teach a leadership course, but where do you learn leadership? And it's a struggle for most founders because they don't get training in it. But at every level that a company grows, you need different skill sets of leadership. It's one thing to lead 10 people. It's another thing to lead 100. It's another to lead 5,000, different skill sets. So often you'll see CEOs replaced because one leader or CEO or founder can kind of do the 0 to 1, but then you need a new skill set to get from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
This is generally what you see there, but it's
Yeah.
also kind of the end of the brand. When you get to this point, the brand is now just going to be cannibalized for corporate profits.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's complicated because the Makeup by Mario to me is probably one of the like best executed celebrity makeup artist makeup brands, in that he obviously hired a team where the artist wasn't the operational bottleneck, which can't be said the same for Pat McGrath,
Yeah,
right?
fair
Where
enough, yeah.
the artist ends up being the reason the business can't scale. I think the biggest problem though with this, not Makeup by Mario, but with this industry, is that these founders are creating brands to sell them. Like, they're not designed for longevity. They're not looking to get into building a brand that's going to exist for 100 years. Like, that mentality has changed. It's, how can I leverage my name equity to generate a few $100 million, or like the Hailey Bieber and Rhode, get that $1 billion kind of acquisition. So I don't think that they're looking to IPO. I know that they've been on the market to be sold previously among other brands. And the thing that kind of sucks is if that's everyone's plan to go to market for this reason, how does everyone benefit from the same outcome?
If everybody we talk to, my goal is to start a business and be acquired in 3 to 5 years, right? But who are these acquiring machines? We assume there's
Where
a
does this
potential
go?
everybody is going to be bought by one giant conglomerate.
Yeah.
So at some point, people have to focus on building great things that last. But there is a plan to have an exit strategy where you can get much higher multiples if you have a proper brand, if you have a proper digital footprint. So you can get double the price or triple the price if you build your brand properly prior to an acquisition.
The only thing that's complicated is I don't know how does makeup, but what makes Makeup by Mario great is that he was Kim Kardashian's makeup artist, and he used her as a model when he would do these master classes, and he developed makeup that felt like what she used for these kind of iconic looks. Where does that go if you sell the company? Like, the only reason why I buy he's got this great powder, and it's probably the only product in my entire makeup bin that I use to the pan and I replace it. Like, it's a daily product for me, and I can't say that with many products. What happens when he exits the building?
That use to the pan is an interesting angle for a makeup brand. You know what I mean? Like something that
I've got a lot of products I really like that I don't use to the pan.
No, but that would be a great creative element. You know, Makeup by Mario gets used to the pan. Or
Totally.
like that,
yeah.
Right? Like, is Skims sell any makeup?
She brought on the founder of Amy Collet, and she will be. She had a company called Skin. She's had a bunch. She had Makeup by KKW, which, not gonna lie, totally bought. Then she had a Makeup by Skin, which is like SKKN, which I didn't buy but respected the packaging. And then that was purchased back from Coty, and now it looks like she's launching it again through Skims. And that's the whole model, is because they looked at Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret proved it. Their kiosks at the exit of like their body sprays and their makeups and their lip glosses generated so much revenue for Victoria's Secret, and it's a model that so many clothing brands use to increase average order value. Because when someone is going to buy a $200 pair of leggings, that's a lot of money for the average person. It's hard to justify adding in another pair of leggings or another like piece of clothing, but to add on a body spray on the way out, even if it's $20, it almost like hits a different part of the brain.
No, it's behavioral science.
Yeah.
Like, you've already decided you're paying for it. At that point, your brain just goes, well, I'm paying this. What's another $9? What's another?
It literally is like bright, shiny object syndrome. Like, I remember going into those stores when I was younger, and I would just be like, ooh, lip gloss. Let me touch. Let me look. I don't even know if I've never bought any lip gloss at Victoria's Secret, but it makes you want to look at it and touch it. Like, and you know what though? I also saw this in Colombia. We laughed about this before, but when I first went down the line, nobody spoke English when I was looking to interview until the mini lip glosses came out. And when we had free mini lip glosses in exchange for an interview, everyone was bilingual. It was hilarious. But watching women just completely changed their state when there was mini lip glosses is it really needs to be studied more. Like this female obsession with lip gloss and in mini size. There's something to it that I can have 3,000 mini lip glosses and still not feel like I have enough.
Interesting. Well, we can look at that. I think there's a self-soothing element to lip gloss where like there's a self-soothing. There's a lot of anxiety these days. And so being able to buy something and then be able to self-soothe with it, and as it makes you look better, is probably why it's very attractive.
I also think it's also so easy to lose. You know, like you can just have one in every purse and it feels like a part of like it's like I'm like ready to go. I'm like Bob the Builder. I've got like my mini lip gloss.
But
Let's go take on the world.
I always wondered, because we're doing so much in the clean space, like with our protein powder that we're launching and some of the clothing companies we're working with. What is in these lip glosses?
Microplastics. They're horrible. They're cocopolymers. It's so bad for you.
Because lips are absorbent. Like it's a type of skin that has a thinner barrier, like it's a thinner barrier to your blood than hair.
So, but that's so different from the other headline, which is Estee Lauder is selling off Smashbox, Dr. Jart, and Too Faced, which is
Too Faced, hilarious.
The idea that so Makeup by Mario is kind of this like new age of let's call them the 2020 brands, where these like founders launch beauty lines. But prior to that, the Smashbox, the Too Faced, the Dr. Jart was kind of these brands that started that like influencer Instagram era. And it's so interesting because of how fast the beauty landscape moves. When I look at those brands, I'm like, yeah, like how have these not been sold off before? Like who's buying Smashbox anymore?
I don't know. But it's worth watching what these big legacy players are doing, because they seem to be, you know, there was that trend of acquiring the cool kids. Yeah. Right. But I think what businesses are finding, especially with the ones that I'm working with, is that they're high maintenance brands that require constant virality. And it doesn't actually turn out to be profitable. So you can get a bump, but Estee Lauder gets way more profitability from longevity type brands where people trust the skincare line and they last forever, right? As opposed to buying
because it's LTV, right? Like the people will spend like thousands and thousands of dollars and constantly. That's like an interesting point, is like when you're only ever focusing on trend focused brands, it's exhausting and very expensive.
And what does it say about
you're
your
not
brand?
buying loyalty?
What does it say about your brand if it only continues to exist if you get viral moments? You have to constantly search for viral moments, right? Like whereas when you have a good longevity brand like a Chanel or whatever, people will stay with you for a long time. So I wonder if there's a move away from this constant need for virality in brands, and you see from a business level people are moving away from that.
It's complicated because there really actually should be this like beauty graveyard, you know, like we should like have this like visual of like because you don't need makeup. And that's the problem, is like a lot for the average person, not for, you know, the 15-year-old that's doing the full face of makeup every day for high school. It takes a long time to get to the bottom of the bottle, or like the bottom of the but they need to continue to create demand so that you keep buying new product. So they kind of can't coexist together, because when I look at especially with like all these clients that come in for us to do shoots with them and they bring their makeup and I look at it, a lot of their stuff, they've like their brands like I literally haven't seen in like 11 years, 12 years. Like people don't go through product that en masse. I'm not like there's obviously like and that's why one of the headlines of Drunk Elephant just came out with an article today of wanting to they went all the way to the children. So they were like super famous for infamous rather for first being for like adults and having this fun kind of like approachable packaging. Kids got obsessed with it because of the YouTube era with kids in beauty. And then these children were using like retinol and like clinically tested like skincare products. It completely tanked the brand because I am not buying a retinol product that a 7-year-old is using. Like it took away that coolness factor. And then Drunk Elephant got into this horrible place with like tons of controversy. And they just came out with this campaign of like, we're not for the kids, like we're for the adults, and like all the models are older again, but they didn't rebrand.
It's a branding.
It's a disaster.
Branding dog's breakfast.
Literally.
I just think like there's kind of high maintenance brands that you can buy for a bump, but at some point they become a liability if you have to constantly try to get people to be excited about it because they're not excited about the product in itself. You know what I mean? And then there's like lower maintenance brands that take longer to build, but have more brand value in them. And so you get better LTV out of them.
Well, that's something that's complicated with our last headline of talking about like Saks going under, because we're on contract right now with a few heritage brands that have had products in market for over 50 years, that have like a loyal base, that are super successful because people really trust the brand and they just keep going back and buying the face cream. But the problem is that model was built off of having a sales associate at your local department store that could wine and dine you, could bring you in, could bring you to VIP events, like could gift you product, could like sit down with you for an hour and a half and talk about your skincare routine. Like, what happens when the world is just focused on like that retail experience is dying. So how do you build that longevity in product off of like fleeting social moments?
Well, like I love the idea of the lagging indicator, and I always use it in real estate. So as soon as you see 6 cranes in a city building skyscrapers, it's time to sell real estate because it's glutted. And as we were saying here, we can't swing a dead cat without hitting a celebrity
Beauty brand in LA right now. It's hilarious.
So right now there's a glut, right? And I think there's an absence of strategy. And so everybody is reacting to this glut of there's money here, let's do this. But in the absence of strategy, I think you're going to see the strong survive in the end. And that's where you really need to focus on. Because it may be dying, that in-person experience, but it probably will come back. Because at some point people don't have money to just keep buying stuff online because somebody said to buy it. They want to have a tactile experience. They want to connect to somebody who can inform them in person, because we're losing trust with.
Well, we want to try it. No, and that to me is this kind of this element to go full circle on this episode is when we talk about it in the beginning, is UGC dead? Are these, but they all work together. Like you need this in real life activation. You need a community.
It's a symphony.
It's a symphony, and you need these people that are also using your product. Like when I'm thinking about these heritage brands, it's a problem that they're reliant on in-person experiences because there's a whole segment of people that are not connecting or learning about the brand. But then on another hand, if the retail is dying, then it's going to become way too frothy to only expect on social media to be communicating the value point, because how do you get someone to sit down and care about your clinical research, your white papers, like how the product sits on your skin, why you developed it, how you developed it? Like how many people are tuning into an hour-long podcast if you're not Hailey Bieber? Like it's hard.
That's why that symphony, that strategy is so important, because people are still going to need to interact with a human, I think, to get them on board. But now maybe it's not just in one brick and mortar location that people have to walk to in a mall or on a street. Bring your in-person interactive to events where your target market audience is. Like people are still going to want to interact with it, but you can make it more mobile.
Totally.
And just static.
Then that brings me to another beauty headline that E.L.F, the team, launches a Substack. Okay, so they called it Zero Distance. And it's interesting because I think that the Substack for brands is going to become overdone, because when they don't have a personal brand, they lack community for people to care. Like what makes Substack interesting is you can speak on,
you can say controversial things.
Yeah. And you can like link other products. Like E.L.F is going to be focused on doing E.L.F. But what's interesting about it is that the angle for the first one they launched from the E.L.F CEO is this kind of idea that's trending of like building in public. In that the trend to get ahead of is engaging with your community on product development, showing the good, the bad, and the ugly, like looking at your platform as a TV show that people can tune in and see what's happening, why it's happening, and what's going on. And them calling it Zero Distance kind of speaks to this idea of there's no longer distance between this huge conglomerate and you as a consumer. And we're going to break down those walls so you know what's happening, what we're working on, and what's going on.
Look, it could work, but if the brand promises a zero distance, it should be coming from the CEO or from somebody up top. But, they're kind of saying, hey, this is going to attract marketers because they want to talk. I don't care what most marketers say, you know what I mean? Because they can't say anything. They're terrified. They have to answer to people. I care what the founder or the person in charge of the brand is saying. So we'll see if they actually deliver that they're saying interesting, controversial things, or if it's just a curated way to try to appear intelligent, but you're not really saying anything.
I agree. I don't think that this one's going to be like the case study of the case studies, but I think it speaks to a trend in the industry that founders need to be ahead of, especially when you are a small business and you're a startup. The power you have is the story you can tell. And that's what a lot of founders are missing, is that what's happening behind the scenes for you launching the product. I mean, yesterday we met with a good friend of ours that's launching a tennis brand, and we were howling at what's happening, behind the scenes. And that's so much equity that she's losing. Like, she's unable to form a relationship with her customer because of this fear of, like, she's not ready to launch.
Like, the industry is infected, as society is, by a fear of saying things that are meaningful. Yep. Everybody is kind of putting a finger up saying, can I say this? Is this right? And in your own business or your own brand, honestly, be authentic. Say things that matter to you and don't worry about it. Like, everybody we've met here, the amount of people who've come up and go, oh my God, you're the only person talking like this. Thank you for saying this. Like, we shouldn't be the only people saying real things about what's going on in this industry. And it applies to your own business. So don't be scared to say something interesting so you can be known for something rather than being known for fitting in the crowd.
Yeah. What we're doing is different though than building in public, right? Like, we're providing we've proven that by being real and being authentic and not worrying about being perfect, build a tribe, right? Like, that is the proof of what we're doing. To take that further, if you're a business owner that is lacking resources, that is not Hailey Bieber, you're not married to Justin Bieber, and even, it's actually crazy too, that all the episodes we did this week of celebrity, whatever, beauty brand founder, hairstylist, it's not that easy. When you know all these famous people, it's actually, it's kind of like a false indicator of success, because you think like, hey, I'm best friends with Oprah and she's for sure going to post it. They have so many people around them and they're trying to make money off of their likeness that it becomes very awkward and very finicky of who is your real friend when you launch a product. And it's the through line on the celebrity side. So the grass isn't always greener. And I think that people, if they're like, I have no budget, how can I do this like X? Well, that aside, you actually have a lot of power in showing what they're not going to show, which is the reality of what it looks like to launch a business. Like, yesterday we were talking with another friend of ours. She's like, is it normal to go through 40 iterations of getting your product to be ready for market? I'm like, you'd be shocked. I'm like, it usually is the standard, because when you really care about your product, you're going through multiple iterations. You should be showing that, because you're obsessive on making it perfect for the customer. Like, you're not white labeling a product and selling junk to your community base. Like, that's a differentiator. It's not a weakness, it's a strength.
It's a standard thing we're telling people all the time.
Yeah.
Substack, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Well, I think that, so we just had the CEO of Symbiotica walk in. She's excited for the episode. I think we should keep our other content for next week. Is there anything else that you're dying to talk about?
Lots of good stuff on the horizon from our perspective in terms of guests. Please, if you're here, like, follow, share.
Yes.
For the podcast, spread the word.
And we will see you. We'll be recording again this coming Sunday. So we'll be back in the saddle for getting content. And next week, we'll talk about this next week, but next week is Harvard. We're speaking at Harvard next week.
You're teaching at Harvard, yes.
Teaching at Harvard.
Legally blonde moment.
Have a great week, guys. Goodbye.
Ciao.